What's up, fight fans? I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries, and this is Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport, from the best seat in the house on the world's most trusted source for news and entertainment in mixed martial arts for almost 20 years. Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly, and man, I'm pumped this week. We got another fight night in Abu Dhabi. Always love it when Holly Holm gets in the octagon. Always love it when Carlos Condit gets in the octagon, and a whole bunch of other big-time fighters this week. And I'm really pumped to welcome back Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports as we do our weekly handicapping and odds and betting segment right here on the show. And Lee Sterling didn't have the best week last week at 3-4, 8-5-1 overall in 2 weeks with us, but he's won 18 of 21 UFC fight cards, and he joins us now, anxious to get back at it this week. Lee, not your best last week, but these things happen, man.
Yeah, this is what I'm going to do for your viewers. I know people want to win. Unfortunately, you can't win every single card. Had some bad breaks. But I'm going to do this for your listeners. I'm going to give them a free card. That's right. My top 3 selections, because I know if I win for them, they're going to want to ride with me for a long time. So I'm going to put 3 winners in their pocket. All they need to do, they want to get involved, go to ParamountSports.com where it says free pick. Just put in your email or go on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Paramount Sports and DM me. Give me your name, your email address, your phone number, and we're going to send you 3 free selections because I know, like I said, people want to win. We've won 18 out of 22 cards, a rare losing card for me. It's bounce back time.
Yeah, taking a look back at that card, man, what a night it was. And you think about what Jan Blachowicz did. I spent 5 minutes trying to pronounce his name in our interview earlier this year in Albuquerque. What a great dude, great boxer, kept Dominic Reyes at a distance, really confused him with his striking. The kicks really hurt him in the opening round, and Reyes just started getting a little bit wild, swinging for the fences in round 2. Didn't look like he knew where he was, and Jan Blachowicz with the finish to become the light heavyweight champ, and that's the co-main. And then the main event, man, Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, putting on a clinic, showing the world why he is one of the most elite strikers, if not the most elite striker in the sport, with a dominating performance over Paulo Costa. But all in all, a great card start to finish, some stars bursting on the scene, some great performances from top to bottom, and just really an outstanding job by those 2 guys in the co-main and the main, Blachowicz and Adesanya. Jan wins the belt, Adesanya defends it.
The 2 takes that I got from those 2 fights were Izzy is, in my opinion, the best fighter right now in the UFC. He's almost unbeatable. And then in the co-main event, I just thought that Dominic Reyes, I don't know whether it was the weight cut. I don't know if it was the game plan. Sometimes you get in there and you just don't either have the energy or, you know, the game plan that he had, he realized is not going to work. So give John, you know, a whole lot of credit. I mean, he dominated the fight. But I think we're going to find out something was wrong either with the weight cut, either when you travel halfway across the world, maybe his sleep patterns were affected, but he had no energy, no game plan, and absolutely dominated. But sometimes, you know, when you watch an entire card, it's not just watching the main event or the co-main event. I also look at some of these fights on the undercard, and that's where down the road you can make your money. Even on fights that I may not have given out, I make a lot of notes, and 3 guys really stuck out to me. William Knight. I mean, the guy is big, strong. Cardio was the problem before. He had a lot of energy. He hits hard. Then he absolutely dominated his fight. Ludau Klein, I think he's an up-and-coming guy. I mean, that was a virtual pick'em. He dominated Shane Young. I think you've got to raise his power rating or fight rating. And then the other one was Brandon Royval. Brandon Royval, dominant. There was concerns about his striking. He can strike, and no one has any concerns about his submissions. I think he's right up there with the best. So I think he's someone people need to take notice for going forward.
This is awesome because I love it when fans get the chance to follow fighters from early on in their UFC careers. Some of these younger fighters who are getting a chance either off the Contender Series or from another promotion, especially in the COVID era where people need to step up and fight multiple times in a short time span, Lee. But being able to follow these fighters all the way through and kind of keep your eye on them, you might be able to even trick the odds makers a little bit here and there if you really pay attention, because they have the same body of work to work with as you do when it comes to these fighters. But finding fighters and following them early on in their career is a great strategy, and you're on top of all of it.
Well, Jim, it's so important that they know the fighters as they come through the ranks. So you don't want to wait until they're a co-main event or a main event to bet them. The money to be made is, as they're on the rise. So that's what we do. That's the legwork that we do. And we're studying at least 3 or 4 fights of every single fighter. And we can give you some of these fighters that some people have no idea who they are. And you can either get them as a big underdog or as a small favorite, and they can cash for you and make big money for you.
3 free picks, fight fans. 3 free UFC selections at ParamountSports.com. DM Lee on Twitter or hit him up on the phone number that you're going to see on your screen in just a minute. Lee Sterling, Jim Grieshaber's Cage Side Seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house, our weekly betting segment right here on MMA Weekly. And Lee, let's get right to the fights. Midway through the prelims, you talked about following fighters on their way up. Here's your chance to do it with a couple. Jordan Williams, new to the UFC. Nasruddin Imavov, the Russian sniper. Williams, a -150 favorite at middleweight. He just earned his way into the UFC by finishing Gregory Rodriguez less than 3 weeks ago on Dana White's Contender Series. It took him 3 times to do it. And meanwhile, Imavov, the Russian sniper, raised in and fighting out of France, but born in Dagestan. We know what comes out of that part of the world. His wrestling's on point, but he likes to stay outside and pick you apart from distance. The Dagestani way, he can do it all.
Yeah, it looks like this is a breeding ground right now for some great fighters. They're tough. They can submit. I've seen some of these guys get hit with some of the best punches, and it doesn't even bother them. I don't know whether it's the region, the training program, the trainers, but doing a great job. And a lot of people like Jordan Williams. I mean, he started off as a small favorite. He's now -150. I know, I give the kid credit. He took him 3 times in the Contender Series to finally get into the UFC, but now he's got to travel halfway across the world against Nasruddin Imavov. This guy is tough. He can take a punch. He can submit. These 2 guys are going to go head-to-head. I just think because Jordan Williams fought 2 weeks ago and is traveling, I think not enough people are taking that into consideration. I like Imavov +120, +130. I think he gets the win here in the undercard.
All right, so Lee likes Imavov there. Remember, 3 picks for free. 3 for free at ParamountSports.com. UFC picks this week. Lee's giving them away. That's Lee Sterling. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Cage Side Seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house. Our betting segment right here on MMA Weekly. Moving on the prelims card, the main event on the prelims, the final one on the prelims before the main card starts. All the fights on ESPN Plus this week, but this one is a good one and a sentimental one for fight fans everywhere. I mean, how do you not love Carlos Condit and Court McGee at welterweight? The natural-born killer, Carlos Condit, such a great fighter for so long. A fan favorite at the very top of the sport and the welterweight division for a long time. A big slide recently, losing 8 out of 10. And ever since that fight against Robbie Lawler in 2016, people think Carlos Condit hasn't been the same, but he's been fighting wrestler after wrestler, which was never a big strength of his, to take on those grapplers and those wrestlers, and he's had a tough time, but he's been fighting big-name fighters, and this time he takes on Court McGee, maybe his easiest opponent in years on paper. Court McGee is a striker. He's lost 4 out of 5. He's a grinder. He's only been finished 1 time in his career, and fans love him, his struggles and his openness about addiction, and he's been an inspiration to so many people, as has Condit. Both guys just keep on coming and show you that in the game of life, man, an unbelievable job by both of them. -130 is Court McGee. Carlos Condit, an all-time fan favorite at +110.
So the records don't look good, but these are still some pretty good fighters. Now, McGee started off as a +125 underdog. People are betting him. I think they're looking at Condit and thinking maybe he's like Diego Sanchez, maybe like BJ Penn. I don't think he's slid that much. I just think he's fought some great fighters and he slid maybe a notch. But McGee, good. He's from Ogden, Utah. Tough fighters come out of that region and never been finished. But Carlos Condit, if you grew up watching the sport like I did and so many people did 10, 15 years ago, this guy comes on the scene. He gives you his all. He can beat you in so many different ways. A lot of times he likes to beat you at what you do best to prove that he is, a guy that has so many different weapons. Hey, he lost to guys like Alex Oliveira, Neil Magny, Damian Maia, Robbie Lawler, but I still think he has it here. I think he's more skilled. I just think it's a different level. And when you have a different level fighter fighting a guy that might be, I consider what's called a jag, just another guy, might be out of the game in maybe a year or two, I'm going to take Carlos Condit here. I think he gets the finish.
All right, Carlos Condit it is, the natural-born killer for Lee Sterling. Moving on to the main card now, our third fight. Jim Grieshaber, Lee Sterling, cage side seat on MMA Weekly, our weekly betting segment. Remember, 3 free picks at ParamountSports.com, 3 free picks at ParamountSports.com, 18 of 21 fight cards this year since May when the UFC came back from quarantine. Lee Sterling has won those fight cards. He's been really good with us so far, coming off a 3-4 week, but 8-5-1 overall with us here on MMA Weekly. Next up, Lee, at middleweight on the main card. Time to shine for 2 fighters, Dusko Todorovic and Townsend. Minus 320 for Todorovic. He withdrew from a fight in July, which allowed Khamzat Chimaev to step in and take the world by storm. He's another Contender Series guy. He did beat Miguel Pereira on the regional scene. That's a big win for him. Taking on Townsend. He's 0-3 in the UFC. He's coming off a huge family tragedy and getting into the octagon. He's at a disadvantage big time height-wise in this fight, and he's been controlled pretty easily by his opponents so far.
Yeah, it might be time to shine for Townsend, and he does have a 5-inch height advantage here. But the problem here is, you know, this guy, we don't know if he's recovered. He lost 2 of his brothers in a strip mall shooting in August. And I just don't know mentally if he's all there. Dusko Todorovic has not fought a whole lot. The guy's from Serbia, another really tough region that's brought on some really good fighters. Loves to bully people and bully them against the fence. And he hits like a truck. He beat one of my favorites, Miguel Pereira, took him down basically 1 punch. I think this is a guy maybe in a year and a half, 2 years, is going to be fighting for the title. And 9-0, yeah, he's going against a guy a little bit more seasoned in the tarantula, Townsend, but I think he's going to take him out first or second round. I'm gonna lay the 320 here, but I won't bet him straight. I'll probably put him in a parlay with another fight.
Yeah, man, Todorovic certainly a popular pick in that fight. Moving on with Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, 3 free picks this week. 8-5-1 in 2 weeks with us. He's won 18 out of 21 UFC fight cards since May, and he's giving you 3 picks for free at ParamountSports.com. You can DM him on Twitter or call the number you'll see on your screen in just a minute as well. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries, cage side seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house right here on MMA Weekly. Moving on to the main card as we continue breaking down UFC Fight Night, Holm versus Aldana. And Lee, this one is also a female fight and a big one. Could have been a co-main. In fact, Germaine Durandamy, the Iron Lady, the former featherweight champ, taking on Juliana Pena, the Venezuelan vixen, a title contender for years in her own right. Pena's been sidetracked a little bit by a knee injury, and she had a baby, only 2 fights in the last couple of years, but she's been a little bit deficient on the feet. Very, very good on the ground, though. She's going to want to take this one to the ground. She's a grappler. She's the first female Ultimate Fighter winner. Meanwhile, Durandamy, the former featherweight champ, really a bantamweight fighter in her division at home, has wins over Raquel Pennington and Aspen Ladd, but she has been taken down a ton of times, and she's known for 2 things in her UFC career. One is she didn't want to fight Cyborg when she was the 145 champ and relinquish the belt rather than doing it. 2, taken down 9 times and completely dominated by Amanda Nunes, minus 110. Juliana Pena, the favorite here against Durandamy, coming off that loss against maybe the greatest female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes, the 2-division champ.
Yeah, this is going to be a great fight. I'm really looking forward to this. The Iron Lady, Durandamy. Who looks good against Amanda Nunes? No one does. I mean, she might end up going down as the greatest fighter of all time in women's fighting. Durandamy held on, even though she got taken down 9 times. She's never been submitted. She's more of a striker. And I think in this fight against the Venezuelan vixen, Juliana Pena, I think it's going to be fought standing up more. Now, obviously, Pena would like to take her down. She's a couple of years removed from having a child. The longer and the farther you are away from having a child, I think she's going to get back to where she was. But she's more of a grappler here. And, yes, she lost to another great fighter, Valentina Shevchenko. So, both these 2 fighters have great resumes. I think Pena's going to try to take her down. I think the difference here is Durandamy. I think she's going to be able to get away or be able to not be able to be submitted or taken down for long enough periods of time. And if you have good enough defense from being taken down, I think sometimes that can be the difference in the fight here. It's going to be fought more standing up, and I think Durandamy has a big edge there. I think it probably goes the distance here, but I'm going to take Durandamy here, -135. I think she gets the W.
The Iron Lady it is, Germaine de Randamie for Lee Sterling. Lee, you got to be crazy, man. Some people give away one fight. Some people will give away 2 fights. Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports is giving 3 free UFC picks this week for you, just for watching us, Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly. Lee, you got to be out of your mind doing this right now. You're not even going to be able to afford to live in Miami anymore. I mean, just giving away 3 fight picks this week for our fans and our audience. Unbelievable, man. I love it.
Because I had a rare losing card, I went 3-4. I'm going to do this. Like I said, I'm going to give 3 free fights. All they need to do if they want to get it, go to Paramount Sports where it says free pick sign up, put in your email address, call me, 800 number, 800-400-9741, or DM me on Twitter at Paramount Sports. We'll send you 3 free selections. Just my way of saying, hey, thanks for viewing this great podcast, and hopefully you're enjoying it. And I'm going to go 3-0 or 2-1 for you.
All right, man. Lee Sterling, got to love the generosity. Got to love what you're doing for our audience right here on MMA Weekly with Cage Side Seat. Jim Grieshaber, Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, ParamountSports.com, our weekly gambling and odds segment right here on Cage Side Seat. And, of course, we're on MMA Weekly, the most trusted news and entertainment source in MMA for almost 20 years. Let's go to the co-main event in a fight that a lot of people are wondering why it's the co-main event, with a couple of unranked heavyweights. But this one could be like any heavyweight fight, full of fireworks, and whenever you get to see a big dude put another big dude's lights out, that's something every fight fan loves. So the co-main event, Yorgan De Castro, Carlos Felipe. De Castro at -260. De Castro coming off a tough loss where he was dominated by a much bigger, much more athletic Greg Hardy. De Castro short, not really physically imposing for a heavyweight. He does have a lot of power. He loves to use leg kicks to set it up. Meanwhile, Carlos Felipe had his UFC debut in July, and not a good fight against Sergey Spivak, and not a winning performance by him, but he could test De Castro's wrestling if he takes it to the ground. Yorgan De Castro, again, a -260 favorite in this one, Lee.
He is, and I think the UFC is trying to push his name and get him to a bigger fight. He was doing well against Greg Hardy, and then he breaks his foot, and I think the whole fight changed when that happened. I think he's an up-and-comer. People love heavyweights. They love the knockouts. See a lot more knockouts and KOs and TKOs with the bigger fighters, and I think you're probably going to see it here. Carlos Felipe only 1 fight in the UFC, and that was against Sergey Spivak. And what concerns me, if you like Felipe, is he was outstruck in this fight 165-44. And I just don't know if he's busy enough. I don't know if he has enough power here. He was also taken down 3 times, 3-0 in that fight. So I don't know if he has enough striking power. I don't know if he has the motor. And if he gets put on the ground, I think it's over also. So De Castro might knock him out, might get him to the ground and hit him with strikes, and the judge ends up having to stop it, or he submits it here. I think Yorgan De Castro -260. Probably want to look at putting him in a parlay.
De Castro it is. Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, 3 for free. 3 picks this week at ParamountSports.com. DM him on Twitter or call the number you've been seeing throughout the show. We'll put it up again in just a minute, Lee. But this one is UFC Fight Night. Holm versus Aldana. Holly Holm against Irene Aldana. The preacher's daughter, Holly Holm. She's fought everyone that you can imagine on the women's side in the UFC. The head kick heard around the world and ending Ronda Rousey, at least in the form that she had been, dominating the women's bantamweight division for years before Holly Holm put a stop to it. Lost the belt in her next fight out against Miesha Tate, but she's consistently fought a who's who of the best fighters. She's a boxing champion. She's a kickboxing champion. She's a UFC champion. She's 38 years old. She's been there, done that, seen it all, done it all, knows how to win a close fight on the scorecards, especially a 5-round fight. very tough on the ground when she gets it there too. Meanwhile, for Aldana, she struggled against fighters who like to pressure and keep moving forward, as she did her last time out against Ketlin Vieira, until she caught her with a big-time left hook to get the finish and get the win. She was an Invicta star. She's fought big-time fighters like Raquel Pennington and Betche Correa. She's fought Tanya Evinger and Leslie Smith as well. No shortage of experience for her either. Holly Holm, a -125 favorite in this fight. Now again, Irene Aldana loves to keep that pressure on the feet. She's been throwing a lot more, and she's really fallen in love with doing that. So she's a different fighter than she has been. She's been a technical boxer, been a lot more aggressive lately with letting her hands go. Holly Holm, though, an outstanding counterpuncher and a terrific main event on the feet, I think, most of the time between these two ladies. Holly Holm, the preacher's daughter, at -125 favorite over Irene Aldana in our main event.
Should be a great main event. Now, even though, Holly Holm is up there in age, you look at the age, she doesn't show any slippage at all. 38 years old. I think she has over 30 fights just in boxing alone. So when you have that type of resume and she's fought every type of fighter, it's hard to ignore her unless someone is that much bigger, that much stronger, that much faster, has incredible submission or takedowns. Irene Aldana, I know that the UFC would like to push her, like to see her in a bigger fight. And I am concerned. You have to be concerned. We've seen some strange, decisions over the summer and early fall. And that does concern me. I've lost a couple close decisions and split decisions. But I think as long as this fight is judged fairly and Holly Holm brings it, I think the preacher's daughter is the right side. They do have one common opponent. Holly Holm fought Raquel Pennington and beat her. And on the other side, Raquel Pennington, she beat Irene Aldana. So that concerns me. And as long as the fight is judged fairly and Holly Holm, brings it, and like I said, she can beat you in so many different ways, striking, getting on top, ground and pound, or a submission, I think Holly Holm's the right side here.
All right, Holly Holm it is for me too, Lee. The preacher's daughter, she's just been in there against the best of the best. She's seen too much. Boxing champ, kickboxing champ, UFC champ, nothing she hasn't seen or done in the octagon. Remember, she's got the finishes on the feet. She knows how to win on the scorecards, especially in a 5-round fight. And if she's on the ground, she's got a big advantage here over Irene Aldana. And let's not forget the heart, the toughness, refusing to tap and having to be put out against Miesha Tate when she lost her belt a few years back after she got it, defeating Ronda Rousey. So Lee has Holly Holm, and so do I. Big-time fight card this week, UFC Fight Night in Abu Dhabi. Lee Sterling, Jim Grieshaber, cage side seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house. 3 free picks at ParamountSports.com. 3 free picks, Lee. You've lost your mind. I'm going to let you keep losing it here on the show. Just go to ParamountSports.com. Check them out on Twitter at Paramount Sports, or call the number you've seen throughout the show. We'll pop it up again in just a minute. Again, 3 free picks from Lee Sterling for you this week, only because you watch us right here on MMA Weekly. And Lee, you've got so much else going on. You're one of the top football guys in the world. You've got incredible records so far in the NFL, college football, NBA finals starting up this week, baseball playoffs. It's a great time to be Lee Sterling. It's a great time to be a sports fan and a sports bettor.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we've never seen a period where so many sports have overlapped. The NHL just ended. We've got the baseball playoffs. But what I do best is NBA, had an incredible run. I'm a former college football player, and college football and the NFL, we've won 3 of the 4 weeks since people have come back, and these games have started. Not many people can make that claim. And if they go to my website, ParamountSports.com, under recent results, they can see every selection I've given out for over the last 5 years. So this is what I'm going to do. I want to introduce to them what I can do. If you've never bought my selections, go to ParamountSports.com where it says free pick sign up. Just put in your email address or call me 800-400-9741 or on Twitter at Paramount Sports. DM me, give me your name, your email address, phone number, any way you want to be contacted. I will give you 3 free selections in the UFC for this weekend. I know I'm going to win. I know if I win for you, you're going to want to ride with me through the end of the year. ParamountSports.com or 800-400-9741 to get the free winners.
You know I'm riding with you, brother. Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. 3 free UFC picks this week. 3 free picks Unbelievable what he's doing for you. We're doing this every week. Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport. From the best seat in the house, Holly Holm the pick over Irene Aldana, Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. We'll be back next week with another odds, gambling, betting segment, whatever you want to call it. Pick the winners with Lee and ride with him all season long. You'll make money. He's 8-5-1 in 2 weeks with us. He's won 18 of 21 UFC fight cards since they came back in May in Jacksonville. That's going to do it for this week's segment. Don't forget to keep watching us right here on MMA Weekly. The best interviews, the best content, you name it. The best and most trusted name in MMA is MMA Weekly for news and entertainment. And Cage Side Seat bringing you the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Enjoy the football. Enjoy the NBA Finals. Enjoy life, my friends. Jim Grieshaber back with you soon on MMA Weekly. Keep your game tight and your mind right.